We spent $13 billion in Los Angeles alone last year to combat homelessness. You want to know where that money went? That money went to these trash nonprofits who have a bunch of executives making $500,000 a year. You're working for a nonprofit dealing with homelessness. That's my money. That's my parents' money. Okay? That is the hardworking people of California paying incredibly high taxes that go to what? So yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And honestly, just experiencing what I've seen on the ground in California has made me question a lot about left-wing ideology.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys pulling up today. Hit the like button for me on the way in. We got to talk about it, man. We have to talk about what's going on out in California. Obviously, they have a major homelessness issue out there. And there's been, you wouldn't believe how much money has been spent to help solve that issue, but it's not being solved. In all actuality, it's actually being exacerbated. I have a multitude of clips to get into. We got to get into it. We got to talk about it because we also got to talk about the nonprofit business scam, fraud, grift, whatever you want to call it. We got to talk about that because it is a major problem in this country. And honestly, I think it is something that needs to be changed, and it needs to be changed ASAP. Will it? Probably not. But should it? Absolutely. Hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
$3 billion sent to LA County over 4 years is completely unaccounted for. That's $2.3 billion that could have been used to clean up this or find housing for people who live like this. Taxpayers have forked over tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to fix it. And people are stealing it?
It's unbelievable. And, it's probably been going on for a very long time. But unfortunately, no one's really looked at it until recently. Before this position, I was in the state legislature, and we would ask a lot of questions about the billions of dollars being spent every year to solve homelessness. And we can all see with our eyes and ears that it wasn't being solved. And the money wasn't going to the people who needed it most. So one of the first things I did after being appointed as the U.S. Attorney here in L.A. was to create the Homeless Fraud and Corruption Task Force. We were starting from the bottom up, and we began brand new investigations with the IRS and the FBI, and it's already culminated in 2 separate indictments, and I can assure you that more will come.
In the 2 indictments you've announced thus far, in one case, somebody was taking this money that was meant to build homes for the homeless and spending it on things like tickets to Coachella concert, jewelry, and a Beverly Hills mansion.
It's frankly outrageous, and this goes to show when you hand out billions of dollars with little to no oversight, there are people out there that will take advantage, and that's always been our suspicion, is that there's been very little oversight or accountability to the individuals who receive this money. Most of the money goes out to nonprofits or developers who claim they're going to use the money to build housing. And what we saw in these 2 investigations, that's not where the money went, and it was used to pay one individual's American Express bill. In these 2 cases represent over a $50 million loss, and that's again scratching the surface. We have many more investigations open that I cannot get into, but we are going to follow the money. We're going to follow every dollar, and we want to make sure the money went to its intended objective, which is to assist the homeless. And if any of it was diverted for personal use or other use that wasn't authorized, we intend to criminally prosecute those individuals. And
do you think it will happen? Maybe, maybe not. But this next video I'm about to show you, the fraud aspect of things, actually pretty easy to uncover. Pretty easy. I want you guys to listen to this brother here because he breaks it down. Before we end this video, we got to talk about the nonprofits, though. We got to talk about it. Check this out.
How much waste, fraud, and abuse is there in the world of homeless services? Well, I've been in the field for almost 20 years. I can say this. Fraud is rare. Fraud, it's easy to spot fraud, I can tell you that. And organizations don't want to work with these folks. But waste is the rule. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's say you were paid to fix your neighbor's fence. If your neighbor came home and the fence wasn't fixed, would the neighbor give you money? I imagine that they wouldn't. In the world of homeless services, there is no fix the fence. There is no end date. There is no final pothole that you filled. It is never ending. It is an escalator to nowhere. So when America right now I've never seen them more frustrated about what's called the nonprofit industrial complex, where this record-breaking amount of funding is going into a field and the problem isn't getting solved. Well, it's never going to get solved the way the current system is. Why?
Yep.
Because no one is going to take responsibility for actually solving the problem. Nonprofits are going to talk about how great the work that they do is, and sure, they do great work. But if you're actually expecting to solve the problem, it is never going to happen the way the system currently is. We can fund it 3 times what we're funding now, and it won't solve the problem. Why? Because there's no expectation that you actually do.
No incentive either.
So call that what you will. I don't see that as fraud. I see that this is how the system works, and nonprofits have figured it out, that they're going to get funded for activity, not outcomes. And this is what we're getting. And I understand why the larger general public is frustrated about this. They're seeing homelessness. They're seeing how it is impacting their community. And they're also seeing a whole bunch of nonprofits with their hands out saying, we can help. And that doesn't look like the fence is ever going to get fixed. So I don't blame folks for being frustrated, but I don't blame the nonprofits either, because it's never been expected of them. And this has to change.
Now, with that being said, I understand exactly where he's coming from, but at the same time, I got to put some blame on these individuals who start these nonprofits who are essentially exploiting the system. That's essentially what's happening. Start a nonprofit, exploit the system, and there's no incentive to actually solve the problem. Matter of fact, if you solve the problem, you basically just ended your nonprofit. There's no more need for you if you actually solve the problem. So they don't incentivize these people to actually do their job at a high level, but they incentivize activity towards, even if that activity is just a bunch of nothing that actually solves nothing. But they can showcase, hey, we hired some people, we did do this, we did that. It's just a money grab. Now, what I want you guys to understand and get an understanding about when it comes to nonprofit organizations in the United States of America, I bet you guys didn't know this, but there is no required spend. There's no fixed dollar amount, and there's no requirement to spend a fixed dollar amount on the problem that you are trying to solve. Meaning, you can raise $1 million for, let's say, youth homelessness. Okay, you raise $1 million. You got to hire some people, right? You can spend $950,000 on labor, hiring people, and office space and all this other kind of stuff. You got to pay your board as well. And only put $50,000 towards youth homelessness. Now you raised $1 million, and that's how you have, people in these nonprofits, board members alike, making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year in salary, because there's no required or no requirement to spend a fixed amount of money, on the issue. There's no percentage requirement. So when these people start these nonprofits, basically you can take money in. You don't have to worry about paying taxes because for the most part, you're going to be exempt. And there's no percentage that you must pay towards or invest in whatever it is that you're trying to do. You just have to, make some good faith efforts in solving the problem. Now, the industry norm, 60 to 75%, is, considered the industry norm, but it's not a mandatory. It's not a mandatory. So think about that. There's no incentive to solve the problem. There's no requirement as to say, hey, you bring in a certain amount of money, there's a certain percentage that you have to pay. There's no requirements around that. And the way the system is set up right now, it doesn't reward you for solving the problem. It just rewards you for doing something in reference to solving the problem, but you don't actually have to solve the problem. Okay? Now, they do say that there is an exception for private foundations. Private foundations, they have a legal spending requirement. Private foundations. But regular nonprofits don't. This is crazy. And that's why nothing ever gets solved. And that's why everybody and their mama is trying to start one of these nonprofit organizations, because you can bring in money. You don't have to worry about paying taxes. There's nobody to tell you that you have to spend a certain amount of money. There's no real regulations around how the money is spent, who you can hire, how much you can pay those people. and where this money gets funneled out to. There's no regulations around it. It's literally the wild, wild west right now. And that's why everybody and their mama is trying to do this, because it's a cash grab, especially if you can get money from the federal government. This is crazy. This is crazy. It doesn't make sense. If the president could do something about this. Seriously. I'm a big fan of nonprofits, but you gotta put some spending regulations around it, or people are just going to take advantage of the system.
California spent $24 billion on homelessness. $24 billion. You know what happened? The homeless population went up. More tents, more encampments, more people dying on the streets than ever before. So I started asking, where did the money go? Because now LA is under federal investigation for homeless fraud and corruption.
Even though the developer received all the money from the state, the developer did not complete the construction.
Yesterday, I showed you $54 billion in California welfare fraud, no accountability. Today, it gets even worse. The homeless industrial complex exposed. Let me show you the receipts. Let's play a little game. Let's play follow the money. Gavin Newsom made homelessness his signature issue. Billions in spending press, conferences, bold promises. We're going to solve this, is what he said. So what happened? In 2022, the California State Auditor released a bombshell report. They tracked $24 billion in homeless spending across 5 years. What did they find? The state had no idea where the money went. No tracking system, no accountability measures, no way to measure if any of it actually worked.
$24 billion in tax money on the homeless crisis, and they are just beginning to audit the programs.
$24 billion taxpayer dollars, and they couldn't tell you if it helped a single homeless person off the streets. But that's not even the worst part. Steve Hilton called it the homeless industrial complex. Here's how California homeless spending actually works.
And it just keeps getting worse, Pete.
Right, Trace. 3 data points. California is 10% of the country's population, 30% of the country's homelessness, and 50% of the country's what we call unhoused homeless, those who are living in these encampments, those who are living on the street. This is a real policy failure, and it starts with the governor as well as our mayors here.
The state gives billions to counties, counties give it to cities, cities give it to nonprofits, nonprofits give it to subcontractors. And somewhere along the way, the money disappears. Administrative costs, executive salaries, consultants, conferences, overhead. Everyone gets paid except the people sleeping on the street. California Underground reported that Los Angeles spent over $800,000 per homeless housing unit. $800,000 for a single unit. Now, you know what you could buy for $800,000? A house, an actual house. But they spent it on one unit, and the homeless population still went up. And here's what makes this criminal. Now, the feds are involved. LA is under federal investigation for homeless fraud and corruption. The FBI is asking the same question we've been asking. Where the hell did the money go? This isn't speculation. LA City Council members have already gone down. Bribery, fraud, corruption exposed.
If the powerful and privileged in this city can violate the law with impunity, what does that say to the rest of us in Los Angeles?
The homeless money was a slush fund, pay to play. Contracts going to connected developers, consulting fees going to political friends. California Underground covered it. 253,000 people watched the video because they knew something was wrong. Now here's the scheme. Developer donates to politician. Politician approves homeless housing. Developer gets the contract, charges $800,000 per unit, builds almost nothing, and everybody gets rich. The homeless person, well, he's still on the street. Stay tuned because it gets even worse. It's not just in Los Angeles. San Francisco down the street spent $1.1 billion on homelessness in 1 year. One city, $1 billion. Homeless population? There's poop maps to prove it's still growing. Sacramento, San Diego, Oakland, same story everywhere. California's homeless crisis is exposed everywhere. And still, no statewide investigation, no accountability, no consequences.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That is crazy, crazy work. When you think about the amount of money that they've spent just on homelessness, the unhoused, that is crazy. What do you think we're going to find if they ever submit to that SNAP audit? How much fraud, how much waste do you think we're going to find there? Oh my goodness. That's why they're suing. That's why they're suing, because they do not want the American people to know how poorly ran that state is. They don't want the American people to know how bad off the stronghold, the liberal stronghold, the Democratic stronghold of California actually is. It seems like everywhere that these people are in charge, it's a hot daggone mess, man. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you live out in California, you got to be disgusted by seeing this. Hit that like button. All right. Join the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. Link in the description box below. And as always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp.